Hello and welcome to another episode of TEVAdrive, and we are back reviewing yet another plug-in car. This time around it is the 2022 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid front-wheel drive. We just drove its cousin Lincoln Corsair plug-in hybrid, and so we'll tell you about some of the differences. Now, the main difference is the price. This is one of the most affordable, if not the most affordable, plug-in hybrid SUVs in our market, starting at $38,000 for the SE trim. This is the mid-range SEL trim, which starts around 40, and then you have titanium, which is above that. This car is pretty well equipped. It has the daylight running LED lights, which are at the bottom here. It has a regular halogen headlamps. It has a halogen fog lamp as well. It's equipped with 18-inch aluminum rims. We can show you here is just like in the Lincoln Corsair, you have the charge port. It looks identical to the Lincoln Corsair. Its cousin, it's different than, of course, the Ford Mach-E, because it doesn't have the CCS DC fast charging option. It's only a level 2. Takes about 3 hours from 240 volts or up to 9 hours from a regular 120 volt outlet. As you can see here, these are nice 185 wide and 225 wide 18-inch wheels, nice aluminum rims. You have a lot of black plastic cladding, which should help prevent damage to the paintwork as you're driving maybe not the best roads, just like here, a lot of gravel. Beautiful blue color, heated mirrors with a blind spot monitoring signal on its edge. The mirrors are manual. They only fold manually. They do not fold electrically, just like in the Lincoln Corsair. So we should mention that the base for this car starts at around $38,000, where the Lincoln Corsair starts at $58,000. So for the $20,000 difference, you can almost buy another used EV these days. Let us show you a bit of the interior of the car. It's quite spacious. As you know, we have a soft spot in our hearts for the plug-in hybrid Ford products, because we drove the Ford Fusion Energy plug-in hybrid. So it's quite spacious. The interior, you have a digital dashboard here and a digital center screen. You still have all the manual controls here. The shifter is the same as the Lincoln Corsair. It's a typical Ford switch, which was used in the Fusion Energy as well. You just turn knob to switch your gears. The mode selector, auto hold, handbrake, and the different driving modes are all here in the center console. You have a wireless charging pad right there, USB ports, etc. It's all here. This is all your climate controls. We'll go through them as we do the driving part. The biggest surprise in this car is the actual sound system. Believe it or not, if you have a look inside here, it's a Bang & Olufsen stereo system. That's a huge surprise for the car in this price range. All right, and because this is an SEL, doesn't have a panorama sunroof, you have to go up to the titanium to get the panoramic sunroof that opens. This car does have the crossbars for transporting stuff on the roof though. And here's the back seat space. As you noticed, being 190 centimeters tall, or 6'4" more or less, I was in a very comfortable sitting position in the front, and here I have fairly decent legroom and headroom above me as well. So it's a good size compact SUV. All right, and we'll show you the trunk space. It's quite substantial as well. So as opposed to the old Fusion Energy and C-Max Energies plug-in hybrids, which were the first generation plug-in hybrids, you remember that the trunk space was compromised with the battery that was taking up a lot of space in the trunk. Here, and by the way, this one has a lift gate, power lift gate, and it has this foot swipe. It has the rear parking sensors as well. Doesn't have the front sensors, but it has the rear ones, which are more important. Okay, so here you don't see any compromise in the trunk space. And in fact, you have still a spare wheel, just like in the Lincoln Corsair. It's one of the very few plug-in hybrid SUVs that has a spare tire right here, and there's space for your cables as well down there. Okay, so that's a big plus for the Ford. Let's put it back. Nice big trunk, 40-60 split seats with a center armrest here in the middle. All right, so let's close it off. You have the lights are LEDs in the back, that's standard. The turn lights are regular bulbs, and so are the backup lights, but the main position lights are LEDs. It's +2, and it's like -5 with the wind chill, and it's snowing just north of us. But so this will give us an idea of the winter condition driving for this plug-in hybrid, and we'll tell you all about it as we take you for a spin. Okay, so come and join us as we drive it and give you our impressions. All right, so here we are inside a 2022 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid. As we mentioned, we previously drove Ford Fusion Energy plug-in hybrid many years ago when we replaced both our first electric car, the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, and our gas SUV BMW X1. So we sold them both, and we bought a plug-in hybrid Ford Fusion Energy. If you look at our reviews of that car during our ownership, you know that its limitations. Very small battery, 7 kilowatt-hour battery, where this is double. This is 14 kilowatt-hour battery, and it's an SUV. So people who drove the Fusion Energies and C-Max Energies will most likely be jumping automatically to this much improved plug-in hybrid vehicle, of course, unless they go for a full electric Ford, such as the Ford Mustang. However, at $38,000, the starting price for this base car, you cannot buy a full electric SUV. Yes, sure, the Chevy Bolt, which just restarted production with all the promotions, was starting at around $37,000, $38,000. But let's face it, Chevy Bolt is a hatchback. It's not an SUV by any stretch of imagination. We just demonstrated that size-wise, this is a good size, compact SUV. Now, because we just drove the Lincoln Corsair, which is $20,000 more expensive, so this again starts at $38,000. The Lincoln Corsair, its cousin, starts at $58,000. Of course, the Lincoln Corsair is much more luxurious, many more standard options. This car is front-wheel drive, and it's only available in front-wheel drive, where its cousin, Lincoln Corsair, is, of course, all-wheel drive. So just like Toyota and Lexus, the difference being that Toyota and Lexus both are offered in all-wheel drive with an identical power of 300 horses. This car here, the front-wheel drive, the horsepower is about 220 horses versus 260 horsepower for the all-wheel drive Lincoln Corsair. So the Lincoln is also more powerful versus the Toyota Lexus competition. In both of these have 300 horsepower all-wheel drive. There is really not much. The only other competition that we can think of is a plug-in hybrid Nero, but again, it's smaller than this. The plug-in hybrid Nero is more, again, like a tall hatchback, not really a compact SUV in our view. And then, of course, feel free to comment if you feel otherwise. We should be parking this right next to the to an plug-in hybrid Nero to compare the sizes. We just parked it next to our Audi e-tron, and this vehicle is actually taller than the Audi e-tron. It's narrower and it's shorter, but it's a good size compact SUV. Okay, so let's turn it on and let's take it for a spin and tell you more about it and our impressions and our test results of our hypermiling, as well as highway driving, etc. So let's turn it on. As you can see, the startup sequence, you can tell it's a Ford. So you have two digital screens. You have the main dashboard here, and then you have the center screen. So it's a touch screen, but this car it has all the climate functions are here at the bottom. So you have a little digital readout of the interior temperature. So you turn it up and down by turning it. And then to turn it off, you just press on it and it's off. So it's very simple, much simpler than the Lincoln Corsair. You had to go through the menus here to turn the climate on or off. So this is pretty simple. You just press on it and it's on. We have the seat heaters on. We have the steering wheel heat on. The temperature outside is +2 and it's -5 with a wind chill, and it's just been snowing. But what it does give us an opportunity to test this car in pretty much winter conditions, we can say. All right, so as to other things to point out, you have the wireless charging pad, which is right here. You have the 2 USB charge ports, the full-size USB and USB-C, plus you have the 12-volt outlet right here. 2 cup holders. Here's your gear shifter. It's the same type of turn knob that the Fusion Energy had, and it's the same one from the Lincoln Corsair. You have your electric handbrake. Then you have your auto hold on or off. And here is a 2-mode button. So first of all, here's the different drive modes. We'll show you on the main screen in a second. And then this is the different EV modes. So first of all, in terms of the EV, because this is a plug-in hybrid, right now we get a message as you started. It shows you how much battery you have. So we have 55% of the battery because we've been driving around the Georgian Bay today. And it's showing 31 kilometers range at 55%. During our test, we were able to drive it in battery alone in very cold weather with snow. Rain and snow mix in about 0 degrees temperature. We drove it for 68 kilometers, and then we'll tell you all about our hybrid driving experience in a moment as we start driving. So first of all, let's go through the various modes. So the EV button here, let's press OK to delete that. Calm screen, let's just tip it down. So you various options here. This trip, so fuel economy, for our test is 2.7 average, which is very good. This is for this particular trip. It shows you total kilometers in gas and total kilometers in electric, and your average consumption. Electric efficiency, you can see 17 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers because the heat is on. We had it as low as 15 before, so it's pretty good for an SUV. Estimated range on next full charge is 64 kilometers. That's because we have the heat on, steering wheel heat, as well as the seat heaters on. Otherwise, the range at full was showing over 70 kilometers with the heat off. Okay, so these are the various options. You have tire pressure, and then back to fuel economy. You can change your options, select screens. You can have the navigation also showing. So it's a customizable screen. It seems to be more customizable than the Lincoln Corsair we just drove. But anyways, let's just get out of this menu because we want to show you. So this is your speedometers on the left. We actually like the display in this Ford better than the Lincoln Corsair for whatever reason. There weren't that many customizable options. So let us press the EV button here to show you what happens. So we have the all-electric driving. We have EV later. You can see right away the engine comes on. So, and then you have EV charge. So basically the EV charge will charge it up. Now we drove it on the highway with the EV charge mode, and when you're driving, at highway speeds, it doesn't seem to be charging, just like the Lincoln Corsair. At highway speeds, it doesn't seem to be charging the battery much. Also, it will only charge it up to about 80% maximum. Okay, so then the first mode is automatic, auto EV. Again, the second one is all electric. Third one, we have a message that the engine is turned on. So we have all electric, we have EV later, and then EV charge. So EV later is basically, it just saves the battery, it doesn't charge it. EV charge obviously charges it up, but the easiest way to charge it up quickly, you have to keep it below 100 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, it doesn't really charge the battery much at all, which is too bad because, that's the whole point of the EV charge. To use it later would be you use it in a city, then you get on the highway, you charge up the battery, and then when you get off the highway, you drive in full battery alone. But that being said, we tried both this way and also in auto, in eco, and so the results were pretty good. We'll tell you about those results in a moment. The other button here is the driving modes. So the first one here is normal, okay? Second one is eco. Third one is sport. Fourth one is slippery. Fifth one, snow, sand, assist, and then back to normal. Okay, so pretty much, this being an SUV front-wheel drive with 220 horses, we really didn't even try the sport mode. We tried the sport mode in the Lincoln Corsair, which has more horsepower, and it wasn't very impressive. So we've been driving this car pretty much entirely in eco mode to try and stretch the electric miles as much as we possibly can. All right, so let's do that. Let's basically, now, one thing to mention, which is pretty much with most plug-in hybrids, and including its cousin Lincoln Corsair, even when you turn it into all-electric drive, which is what we have right now, it says engine enabled for system performance. It'll let you drive a couple of kilometers in full electric, and then it'll turn on the engine. Maybe it's because of the cold weather that we've been having. Maybe it's a standard setup to kind of run its maintenance cycle on the engine. In some of the other cars, the maintenance cycle would turn on periodically. If you don't, here in this car, every time you drive, it'll try and run its engine for a little while, usually 1 or 2, maximum 3 kilometers, and then it goes into the full electric mode. So that's what's happening here. We have this message here appearing that it's engine enabled for system performance. You can delete it by pressing OK. There we go. We can go down to the statistics, so you can see right as soon as the engine comes on, it shows you your liters per 100 kilometers gas consumption, total kilometers, and electric kilometers, and then you can also view the electric consumption. All right, so let's go back to the previous screen. Here on the right, so you have the speedo on the left. Here on the right, you see the power band, so you see how much power you're using in either gas or electric. When the engine turns off, the engine symbol goes dark, and the battery, when you're using on the battery, it's blue. When you're in the charge mode, when you're decelerating, by the way, there is no way to adjust the regen. It's all just one setting, which is not very strong. It's definitely not one pedal driving. So the regen is applied when you press on the brake pedal, and you can see it recharging. It goes green, the battery goes green, and the power band goes below 0. That means that it's charging the battery as you apply the brake. And then of course you have your fuel gauge. There we go. The engine just stopped. So we'll see how long the car will stay in pure electric. It may still kick in the engine in the initial phases of our test drive. Okay, so let's put it in drive. There we go. And let us tell you about, so we have the auto hold on, so we have to press, and you've got the creep. The car is creeping. By the way, this is a CVT transmission, as with many plug-in hybrid cars. So even in the Lincoln Corsair, you had the shift paddles which were imitating the gears, but they were fake gears because, being a CVT with both of these cars, there are no gears. It's a continuously variable transmission, which is also the case with Toyota and many other plug-in hybrids. So we did, during our driving on the highway and hypermiling on the side roads, we tried to stretch those miles as far as we could. Just a few days ago, and we posted the full report on it on our Facebook page that you can watch. We managed to drive this car from here in Midland all the way to Collingwood, a distance of 68 kilometers with many hills on the way. And as I mentioned, very nasty cold weather, around 0 degrees with snow and rain. And we still managed to drive almost 70 kilometers. Now, if the weather was warmer, I'm sure we could stretch it beyond 70 kilometers of pure electric range. Now, the same cannot be said for the Lincoln Corsair, which is more powerful and all-wheel drive. The most we were able to drive on it in this under very similar conditions just a week before was 48 kilometers from Midland to Elmvale. So the EV range, even though it's the same battery, it's 14.4 kilowatt hour battery, the range on the Ford, because it's only front wheel drive, it's more efficient, is 20 kilometers longer. So under these conditions, again, 48 versus 68 kilometers. That's quite a bit of a difference when you're commuting, let's say. And we have to mention again our experience with our previous Ford Fusion Energy plug-in hybrid, because we had the plugs both at home and at our office. So there are short commutes from Etobicoke to downtown Toronto. We managed to drive it for 4 months and 6,000 kilometers on a single tank of gas. So it is possible, assuming you have access to plugs at both ends. And with this car, with twice the battery, twice the electric range, you can even do much longer commutes. You can even do round trips for short commutes without plugging in and keeping the car in full electric, which is great. So again, great to have choices. Unfortunately, if you need or want the all-wheel drive, you have to go with the more expensive Lincoln Corsair. Or you can go with the more expensive Toyota RAV4 Prime, which we are about to test as well, and we'll compare it with this vehicle. However, again, it's more expensive because this again starts at $38,000 versus $45,000 for the Toyota RAV4 Prime. Okay, so and that has 300 horses versus 220 horses here on the Ford Escape. So again, one of the most, if not the most affordable plug-in hybrid SUV in our marketplace. It's very efficient. It has a lot of interior space, both for passengers and the front seats and also the trunk. If you are going with the top of the line, titanium version, you will get a beautiful panoramic sunroof that opens. Or you can go just with the base car. You still have the same EV range with a pretty well-equipped base car. It starts at $38,000. Right now, as we're driving it, the SEL, the mid-range starts around $40,000, and this one has about $4,000 worth of options, so it's roughly around $44,000. Our highway test, it wasn't hypermiling because our hypermile, as we explained, took us to a distance of 68 kilometers in pure electric before the battery was depleted. We did another test just driving normally on the highway, middle to left lane speed, being able to pass the semi trucks on the highway, following traffic on the 400 northbound. And so basically we kept it, we waited until the battery was depleted. So we drove as far as possible on EV only mode, which took us over close to 50 kilometers on battery alone, including the 400 highway. So of course the range was shorter because we were doing highway speeds. Then, however, the car was in auto EV mode, which means it was in hybrid mode. And so then we managed to do about total of about 70 out of 150 kilometers, and consumption was about just under 5 liters per 100 kilometers. We did another hypermile test in mixed pure electric and hybrid modes using the Highway 27 on the way back. And this was a very surprising result because out of the 150 kilometers, using the side roads, maximum 90 kilometers per hour, we managed to drive 110 kilometers in pure electric versus a total of 150 kilometers, the distance of the trip. So that's quite an amazing result for a plug-in hybrid SUV with only 14.4 kilowatt-hour battery. So the key is, if you want to minimize your gas use and stretch your EV miles, go on the side roads, keep it at 90 kilometers per hour, which is basically already above the limit, as you know, for those side roads, and then you can stretch those EV miles because the hybrid system is able to turn off the engine at slower times or down the hill, or those situations where it can use the pure EV mode. The engine will charge up the battery, the hybrid battery, and then as soon as it can, it will go back to pure electric. Okay, so what else we have to mention is the wheel is adjusted manually, where the Lincoln was electrically adjusted seat. On the Lincoln, we had both the driver and the passenger seats were electric with massage, and it was 24-way adjustable seats, super comfortable seats. This, unfortunately, even though the driver's seat has electric adjustment. It's not very comfortable, to be honest. I'm not sure why. Very hard to for me to adjust it for myself. And the passenger seat here is manual. And my wife was sitting here the whole way from home to our lake house, and she found them extremely uncomfortable. So that's the only downside that we could find with this car. Otherwise, it's a very interesting and worth recommending plug-in hybrid SUV. So as usual, if you have any comments or questions about this vehicle, please feel free to comment. Also, please view our recent review of its more expensive and luxurious cousin, Lincoln Corsair, and stay tuned for our upcoming reviews of the competition, which is Toyota RAV4 Prime and its luxurious cousin, Lexus NX450H Plus. So again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, and take care.